Today I'd like to talk to you about failure. Originally, my senior thesis was intended to be a multimedia event. I wanted to rent out a nice big space that felt accessible to people and allow different artists to communicate with their craft. I reached out to musicians, performance artists, visual artists, graphic designers, dancers, and even puppeteers. With the COVID-19 pandemic dramatically bringing live performance to a halt, I wanted to rekindle our relationship with performance. Although I found great success during the early portion of my planning, my process dramatically deteriorated. Plan A became Plan B, and Plan B became Plan C. With artists dropping shows and event spaces increasing their rates, I struggled to confirm everything. After a few months of anxiety attacks and extreme negotiation, I decided to completely switch the plan and aim for something higher. Countless emails and Instagram direct messages were shooting from my phone. To be honest, I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to achieve, but I knew I wanted something big to represent who I am as an artist and a student. Eventually, and fortunately, I successfully negotiated a support spot for an Atlantic sign band. We sold it out, too. I organized a camera crew to document the event, which you'll observe in fragments. Here's my Plan C.
Breathe. I'm feeling with no sense of purpose.
Philadelphia is rich in history. What once was a prominent city for artists and creatives slowly washed away with many other major cities. A few shows popped up here and there, but I wanted to bring a revival to the unexplainable. The feeling of inspiration after observing something you've never seen before. I reached out to multiple venues and event spaces, hoping to land something where I can make my vision come true. After I locked in a few spots I thought were suitable, we started negotiating deals. Upfront fees were discussed, and I didn't really have a huge budget to pay for the space and the artist fairly. I created an outline for venues, listing off things I needed to run the show properly. I listed off the acts, what features I needed, negotiation deals, and equipment I needed to run the event smoothly. None of the spaces had much of a backline, so I'd be responsible for a whole lot of gear. Drum kit, amplifiers, projector, microphones, lights, a mixing board. It started to get pretty unrealistic for me. I settled for 2 different spaces, one eventually bailing on me last minute, and the other having a ridiculous cost I'd have to pick up twice as many shifts at the bar for. I really didn't want to settle with the usual friend's basement or the backyard show, so I kept looking and looking and looking and looking. Pretty soon it got too late. Venues had booked up for months, and that's when I really started panicking. And yet again, here we are with more conflict. It was time for a huge change. In high school, I had a friend named Julian. I met him through his band, who I was in communication with online at the time. We scheduled a 10-day tour with them and hit the road the summer before college. Everything had gone well and we had the time of our lives. Now, Julian is a part of Atlantic Records signed band Michelle. I saw they were on a headline tour and I reached out for a potential support slot. I saw it as the perfect opportunity to communicate with their managers, land us an event I could film, and pull off a successful show. As up-and-coming artists, their resume truly shows that they are the real deal. Here they are on their very first Times Square billboard. When I reached out to Julian, he said he was down. I was so excited I finally had an event lined up. Unfortunately for me, when I get too excited, things don't always turn out so well. I was done at this point, completely finished with everything. Am I going to have to completely change everything about my project? I couldn't let this one slide, but I wasn't really sure what to do. Is this a way of them saying they're not interested? Are they actually worried about a budget? Could we just play for free? I was dying for material at this point, but I didn't know exactly what to do. I didn't want to ruin my connection with Julian over begging for a spot. I ended up asking for Julian's manager's contact information. I started emailing him and trying to negotiate some form of a deal. I thought about it for a little bit. If we get a good enough crowd, they'll probably still end up paying us, right? Overall, it wasn't even about that. I needed the material and I just wanted to play. I wanted to be a part of it. I wasn't even thinking about the money. I offered to perform for free, and with constant back and forth messaging and being ignored, I was extremely stressed out, but I needed to make it happen. And it did happen. And we got paid. I believe the thing I wanted to present to you the most is my resilience. After failing over and over again, I realized that I never really wanted to display immediate success. There's a beauty to learning from mistakes and using real-life experiences to educate myself. By applying this knowledge, it doesn't intend that failure is finite. We grow from our experiences. Sure, the multimedia show I initially introduced would have been a cool experience, but I feel like I've learned way more by struggling. Reflecting back, I did accomplish a lot. I improved my negotiation and business skills, applied my musical and technical abilities, and performed at a sold-out show. I feel more comfortable with failure now. Prior to this experience, it felt so easy to give up and accept it. But now, I can't.
so sweaty. Thank you guys. Start on next.
Good night, man! Alright, it's on.